Well, hello, and thanks for watching another episode of ARFCOM News, your twice-weekly dose of the finest two-way propaganda. Brothers and sisters, gun control is over. I know I've said that before, and I am being every bit as hyperbolic now as I was before, but I did come across something very exciting. A fully print-in-place revolver, or at least mostly print-in-place. The cylinder was printed separately. Now this one is still pretty early in the development process, but honestly, even if it were finished, the tube of use wouldn't let me give you a link. On the other hand, you fellers are smart. Still, this is really exciting. Home squirted guns have been a thing for a long time, of course, even fully squirted guns. The Liberator was released more than a decade ago, and a few years ago the Harlot was released, but they required hand fitting and a handful of parts that couldn't be squirted. This new design from Prince and the Revolution comes off the printer ready to go. That significantly lowers the barrier to entry. And if that's not enough to get you excited, the 3D 2A community has not only modeled the RXM, they have now developed a do-it-yourself flat for the fire control group that you can drill and bend with the help of a printed jig. And no, gun control won't just evaporate overnight, but the incremental democratization of arms makes authoritarian policies just a little bit more impotent every day. Remember, they're not trying to ban guns entirely. In all the most draconian control freak schemes, the wealthy and the government are still armed.
We must inform the peasants.
And they will use guns to do violence against anyone who resists their plans. No, their goal is to disarm the lower classes, because gun control was never about guns. It was always about control.
Throughout this great nation, never have we been more unified.
But it would be impossible for us to produce quality 2A propaganda without sponsors. So let's pay some bills. Today's video is sponsored by Vortex.
The proven Crossfire sight is now available in new flavors. Same great, affordable, bomb-proof reflex sight with a 2 MOA reticle and 50,000 hour battery life backed up by the Vortex no questions asked VIP warranty, but now it's available with a tan finish or a green dot.
And by Aguila Ammunition. ARs can be hungry little beasties, but rifle ammo usually comes in boxes of 20 when standard magazines hold 30. That's dumb, and it makes puppies sad. So Aguila now packages their 5.56 in 30 round boxes. It's also available in sealed plastic battle packs to keep your ammo tasting fresh for the pocky lips. The malnourished and ironically named vice chair of the DNC, David Hogg, wasted no time leveraging his new position for his personal benefit. He immediately exploited the DNC's contact lists to send messages raising money for his own PAC, which pays him a generous salary of more than $100,000 a year.
I'm sure there's a reasonable explanation.
It's not technically illegal for him to screw his own party like that, but it is generating a lot of malice with his party members. Cameron Kasky, also a former Stoneman Douglas student, said, "I mean, it's just very frustrating to be in a party in desperate need of increased accountability for our struggling leadership and watch someone who is never held accountable ascend to leadership. I just hope he doesn't let all of that grifting distract him from his dedication to losing elections." Control freak groups like David Hogg's Everytown have tried to rebrand themselves as gun safety groups, but I doubt Hogg could tell you the 4 rules if you put a gun to his head, and I don't think I have ever once heard any of them advocate for gun safety education. Somehow, these gun safety groups are only concerned with policies which make it harder for minorities and poors to get guns. It's always fees and waiting periods and bureaucratic hoops and bans, but House Bill 104 in Utah would require that age-appropriate gun safety is taught in K-12 schools. For younger kids, that simply means they are taught to leave guns alone and tell an adult. That may sound really simple, but it saves lives. Even CNN reported a study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association that exposure to just a 1-minute video dramatically reduced the likelihood that a child would play with a gun even weeks later. HB 104 passed the Utah House with a crushing 59-10 victory, so I see no reason it should get held up in the Senate, but I also see no reason to let it. So take a minute right now to call 801-538-1035 and tell them to pass HB 104. Now, just one more thing before we move on to the next story. Under HB 104, parents would be allowed to opt their kids out of these safety classes, and I'd like to hear what you guys think about that. Is there really any legitimate reason for a parent to do that? Should they be allowed to pull their kids from a life-saving class like this? Arkansas is considering a bill to stop cooperating with the ATF. See, the feds don't actually have enough agents to enforce federal gun laws themselves. A lot of people seem to think the way it works is you go out to the range with your SKS and an undercover ATF agent takes one look at it and he decides the 922R parts count is wrong and he hauls you off to Gulag.
Every journey begins with a single step.
But that's not really how it works at all, because there's actually more cops in just the Phoenix Police Department than there are agents in the entire ATF, and they have to police the whole country. So the feds rely on local cops to do all of the actual police work. And when those cops are done charging somebody for their robbing and fleeing and evading and whatnot, as is their tradition, they pass off the gun crimes to the ATF, which then files charges in federal court. But the ATF doesn't actually do any of the primary investigating or arresting in many of these cases. In other cases, they'll swoop in and recruit a whole bunch of local cops for a task force to round up ghost guns or whatever the current boogeyman is. Or they just send a hit squad to kill you because they heard you sell guns at the gun show. But denying the ATF use of local resources severely hampers their ability to violate our rights. So whether or not you live in Arkansas, I want you to pitch in for our brothers and sisters and call 870-772-1255 to tell Carol Dalby, who is the chair of the House Judiciary Committee, to push HB 1481 through to a vote. Even if you don't live in Arkansas, just give her a call so you can give ATF the finger. And now for your moment of Zen.
That's my purse. I don't know you.
Hey friend, do you like pews and pew-related things? Would you like to help us keep delivering you We literally couldn't pay the bills without our sponsors, so do us a solid and get yourself something nice from them. You deserve it. I love you.